not going to talk about all that stuff.
What stuff?
You know, all that other stuff. Secrets.
You just said that none of that was that they portrayed in the movie. Was anything that you had experienced with Eric?
Absolutely. When Eric and I were together, it was never, ever like that in the movie. He was never like that. I mean, when I wrote to him, just, right after we saw the movie, I wrote to him and told him, I said, I'm glad that I missed the that Tulsa time, that I wasn't a part of that, and that I couldn't come in the country for 10 years. That kept me from getting in the middle of all that. Because he was nothing like that when it was Derek and the Dominos. No, hell no. It was all business. We had fun and we got down and we got up. But it didn't affect our music, and we wasn't doing anything, and that wasn't us. We weren't on the floor ever. That never happened with Derek and the Dominos. Everybody's drug abuse really didn't start happening until after we got home from our one and only American tour and tried to record another record. Then that's when all of that stuff started happening. And when the record wasn't happening and things weren't happening with Patty for Eric and everything seemed to be falling apart, that's when he went in seclusion. Him and Jim Gordon had a blow up, and Eric went into seclusion. Jim already had a gig, already booked with Steve Winwood and that bunch, and then Carl was going to be with Leon, and here my partner Eric, who that was our band, not Jim and Carl's. That was our band. We formed that band. He's going to go off and do heroin for a couple of years. Jesus, so what am I going to do? Sit around and wait. I had to sit around and wait. And that waiting was where I started into my alcohol and drug thing went out of control then. So after 2 years of waiting, I said, I've had enough of all of the waiting and everything else. I had my house in Ascot. I'd crashed my Ferrari. I mean, just one thing after the next. One thing crazy shit happened to me after the next. And I said, I'm out of here. And so I left Ascot, and my rock and roll star career the same way as I walked into it, with the clothes on my back and my guitar. That was it. I left everything. Fucking boots, all my granny takes the trip clothes, everything. Crashed Ferrari in the garage, everything. Knives, forks, silverware, every damn thing there was. Pictures on the wall, gold and platinum albums. Crazy. But the drugs and alcohol didn't start happening and taking deep effect until after we were finished. We didn't do that. Eric started dabbling with smack during All Things Must Pass, but that wasn't but a month or two before we did the Layla record. So we did All Things Must Pass record, and then we went straight ahead and did the Layla record. So, as a matter of fact, in less than a half a year, we wrote, produced, and performed and recorded 2 great records. All Things Must Pass and Layla and Other Sort of Love Songs. You couldn't have done those things if you were screwed up. It just didn't work that way. In George's sessions, there wasn't a bunch of alcohol. It wasn't a bunch of There was a bunch of food and a bunch of Hare Krishnas and a lot of musicians, At one time, there were 12 people when we did Wawa. I mean, there was 12 people in the band playing all at the same time. But there wasn't alcohol and abuse like everybody thinks that there was, It's just not. It was just not that way. It was not that way. It was not that way with Derek and the Dominos.
You said that the night the Dominos broke up, you had an accident.
Oh, yeah, well, I went back to Jim's house, his flat in Chelsea. Bruce McCaskill, our road manager, Jim, Carl, and myself. And I was just going, what the hell have you done to Jim Gordon? What was that about, And
what happened?
Well, he had bought some new drums, and they had like 12 drums, double bass and all. I mean, just he was a real musical drummer, and he had a ear for music, the actual music, not just rhythm. But every one of his drums was tuned to a different note on the piano, and so he and I he had unpacked his drums that day, and I was sitting at the piano going, do 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 do, and he was going around one little drum, do 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 do, and then do 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 do, tuning every drum, every one of them to a different note on the piano. It took hours and hours and hours, Of course, he was sitting there drinking and doing a bunch of blow and stuff just to get through the day. And literally was all day long with those damn drums. And it's supposed to be our session where it's not about the drums. He should have come in and done that some other time. But he had his new drums, his new Ferrari, and all this stuff, all the toys. And bang, bang, bang and so Eric's just sitting there on the other side of the room, big room at Olympic, and got his legs crossed and sitting on his amplifier. And Jim's just about finished, and Eric's smoking a cigarette and he's got a drink just sitting there. And Jim got finished with the singing, running around the kit and all this stuff, and we're like, come on, man. This is literally hours, all day long, all afternoon long. And then Eric was sitting there, and can we get started with the session? All right? Eric stood up. We didn't have tuning machines like we do today, so it was me tuning Eric to the piano. He's tuning his guitar up, Brownie, and it wasn't quite right. And Jim says, "Hey man, you want me to tune that thing for you?" Carl and I looked at each other like, "Oh shit!" Eric was sitting down when he did that because he stood up and got the guitar. He said, "I'll never fucking play with you for the rest of my life, ever." Threw Brownie in the corner on the way out the door. We just went, God damn. All right, so, Jesus, it was like, you've done it now, Jim Gordon, you twisted motherfucker. So we went to his house, sat down, was going to have a drink. They already said, he was working, he already had his gig with Traffic. He didn't fucking care that he had broke up the band. Carl was going to play with Leon. He didn't care either. He already had another gig. I'm the only one that seemed to have cared. And so we're sitting there. I had a Bell's whiskey, Scotch whiskey and green ginger wine. Was drinking it and took my Mandrex or something. And I got up to go to the bathroom, and I had vertigo, and I went headlong across the room and dove into the radiator, hot water radiator, like I was claiming it. Plus, I think I still have a scar. Goes from there to there. And I was like, God damn, what now? And so I had to go to the doctor. They put butterflies on it, and I went back out. That's when I was living in Sunny Heights, which is Ringo's old house out in St. George's Hill in Weybridge.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of pictures of me going around, big goose egg on my head, drink in my hand. Yeah, that's from me tackling that water radiator. I don't guess it had anything to do with the drugs or the alcohol or any of that. It was just I got dizzy. I still deal with vertigo. But of course it had to do with alcohol. Had to do with everything. Yeah, and that goddamn Jim Gordon. I remember that. As I was telling you that just now, it was as clear as a fucking bell to me. So what have you done? And he was oblivious to it. Like this narcissistic, sociopathic, crazy motherfucker he was, probably still is. But he had no guilt or remorse or nothing. I said, fuck. I just went home, stayed out at Sunny Heights. Eric, I'd go over and see him every now and then, and he was just busy staying at home and staying high. And then finally, he wouldn't answer the door. And so there I was, in that great big, 26, 28 room place, bouncing around like a BB in a #2 wash tub. And I felt like my life was just being wasted, you know. I'm sitting here waiting on somebody that nobody doesn't really know. I mean, Stigwood put out the history of Eric Clapton. he wasn't waiting. He figured Eric was going to kill himself. He might as well go ahead and put a history record out. But yeah, it was. I finally, and when I left Ascot, I got my other place at Ascot, and when I left Ascot, I left everything behind. I walked on everything. I walked on all of it just to go start my life again. At least I knew if I came to America, I could go play. And even if I played a bunch of honky-tonks or beer joints, at least I could get out and play. It bothered me, those people did not want to play. Stones had it worked out. Work 3 months, write 3 months, recreate 3 months, and go on the road 3 months. They had a plan. They probably still do it the same way. We didn't have a plan with Eric and me. We were just by the seat of the pants, and he wasn't flying at that time, you know, so I was on my own. So my best move was go back to America. And I put a little band together and went out on the road and had a great time. I didn't make any money, but I played a lot of great music.